Welcome, folks, to the online vigil in support of healthcare workers and for the abolition of healthcare profiteering. We are online. We also have vigils happening in Philadelphia and Scranton, and we'll be joined by people from around the country tonight. We are about to start with a song momentarily. Please keep yourself on mute.
There's a new day coming, everything gonna be turning over. Everything gonna be turning over. Where you gonna be standing when it comes? There's a new day coming, everything gonna be turning over. Everything gonna be turning over. Where you gonna be standing when it comes? For far too many years I've been marching, singing and talking, doing things I thought would make me free. While people halfway around the world, they've been fighting and dying and bleeding. Now it seems that they're gonna be. There's a new world coming, everything gonna be turning over. Everything gonna be turning over. Where you gonna be standing when it comes? You know the book, the Bible, you read it and you see. It will surely come to pass. This is how it's gonna be. Those that were weak and humble would come and gain the earth. Them that shuddered at the bottom would rise and rule the world. There's a new world coming, everything gonna be turning over. Everything gonna be turning over. Where you gonna be standing when it comes? The nations of Asia and Africa, they're taking over their lives. The sisters and brothers south of us, oh, finally getting wise. Then take a look, United States of the North American climb. Your strange mixture of wealth and hate, you won't be exempt this time. There's a new world coming, everything is turning over. Everything is turning over. Where you gonna be standing when it comes? There's a new world coming, everything gonna be turning over. Everything gonna be turning over. Where you gonna be standing? Where you gonna be standing? Where you gonna be standing when it comes?
Welcome, everyone. My name is Jacqueline. On behalf of Put People First PA, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm a member of the Northeast PA Healthcare Rights Committee of Put People First PA, a statewide grassroots human rights organization with 9 healthcare rights committees and members in 17 counties. At this time, we ask that you keep your candles or lights handy. We will light them at approximately 6:45, 6:50 to create a warm, healing environment together during the change of a 12-hour shift. We are honored to be joined tonight by the National Nonviolent Medicaid Army and the National Union of the Homeless. The Nonviolent Medicaid Army of the Poor is a growing militant force of the poor and dispossessed, united across identities, regions, races, and issues, modeled after Martin Luther King's Nonviolent Army of the Poor from the first Poor People's Campaign of 1968. The National Union of the Homeless is committed to ending homelessness and poverty and to work tirelessly for the human right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, for social and economic justice for all. Personally, I have also been a registered nurse in Pennsylvania for more than 10 years. Tonight, we come together in solidarity with healthcare workers, one of the largest sectors of the working class, to shed light on the moral crisis impacting them, as well as every poor and dispossessed working class person in the US. The current crisis we are in is the result of a capitalist model of healthcare that necessitates competition and profiteering and places profit over people's lives. Our healthcare sector is one of the largest and fastest growing industries in the world, and the system is failing the people. Profit has been prioritized before a patient is triaged, transported, transferred, or treated anywhere within our healthcare system. When profit is the priority, our hospital systems consolidate and operate at high census levels, such as 85% or more capacity on a consistent basis, while dealing with staff shortages the whole time. And it has little ability to scale up in the face of a widespread healthcare emergency. With all the profit in healthcare, why were hospitals closing down in communities like Lancaster and Sunbury and leaving people with no stable healthcare systems? Why do some areas like Pike County have no hospital at all? Why is mental health and addiction treatment allowed to continue being neglected, but the police have a license to kill in mental health crisis situations? Our healthcare industry fails to keep the people healthy, and the state allows it to continue. This is why, as ICUs fill up across Pennsylvania and this country, thousands more are infected with the virus every day, and the death toll mounts. We assert that one of the best ways to support our healthcare workers is to fight for the abolition of profiteering in our healthcare system. At this time, we're going to hear briefly from our partners with the Nonviolent Medicaid Army and the National Union of the Homeless. Danita?
Thank you, Jacqueline. Good evening, everyone. I am Danita Jones, and I am a resident of Dallas, Texas. I am one of the co-chairs of the Texas Poor People's Campaign and also an organizer for the Nonviolent Medicaid Army here. I'm a mother of 5, an advocate, and a hellraiser, because for too long I've seen the faces of people, myself included, be trampled on and discounted by the system that is not here to protect us, but here to make us do the unimaginable, to be quiet, to be grateful for what we have. And to that I say, we will not be silent anymore. As millions more in this country are thrown into the ranks of the unemployed or underemployed, the demand for Medicaid is going to skyrocket. And healthcare will continue to be one of the top concerns on the minds of the American people. Medicaid can and should be expanded to be a truly universal and comprehensive single-payer healthcare system. The Nonviolent Medicaid Army centers the leading social force, the poor and dispossessed, in the fight for healthcare as a human right, a transformative demand in the context of a system that seeks to profit off our pain, sickness, and death. Across the nation before and during this pandemic, there are families who worry about every sniffle, cough, or fever because they know an illness of this magnitude will destroy them. And if it doesn't, the crushing debt that follows will. We are here because health care is a human right. We are here to make visible a collective expression of anger and outrage at the state violence on a mass scale, represented by the over 200,000 deaths and counting from COVID-19, which are disproportionately impacting poor and dispossessed people, unhoused people, low-wage and essential workers, Black, Latinx, and Indigenous people. We are here to call to the crisis that preceded COVID, with 700 people dying every day in this country due to poverty. Put ourselves forward as a leading social force that has a program to address the prolonged crisis that we are in, drawing on and from the Jubilee policy platform of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival. We are here to achieve a truly universal single-payer healthcare system. We are the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. And I will pass it on to Kristen.
Thank you, Danita. That was very powerful. Thank you very much. My name is Kristen Colangelo, and I'm here to represent the Nonviolent Medicaid Army and the National Union of the Homeless. We've partnered together during this time to raise up the exact issues that Danita talked about and Jackie so eloquently framed us in the beginning with. And I just want to say that we are in a crisis. We've been in a crisis, and this crisis is now much more impactful on all folks in the United States. The National Union of the Homeless is built on a history of fighting for human rights. And as Nijmi often says, you know, we must speak about our basic needs as human rights and frame them in that way, which is an exact attack at the system that we're living in that pushes people out into the street when they can't work and afford their rent. They lose their health care, they lose their ability to eat. And these are the things that the Nonviolent Medicaid Army comes together to fight across struggle. So the National Union of the Homeless fights to bring together folks experiencing the most visible manifestation of economic violence. When they're on the streets, they're in encampments, they're living in RVs, they're trying to figure out how to get through the day. And Crystal Sanchez will talk about that later today, one of our leaders from the National Union of the Homeless. And we partner up with other organizations, and the Nonviolent Medicaid Army is working to pull these organizations together, because we're not going to end the suffering by putting people in houses, right? And we're not going to end homelessness in one area, right? We have to come together so that we are one voice that fights that all of our basic needs are human rights: a right to eat, a right to not starve, a right for quality health care that saves our lives, right? A right to a home, a roof over our head that we can live in peace, and the right to not have to die and make choices to work in an environment that's killing us. Healthcare workers have, and from the day one, been on the front lines. We've been trying in the encampments and the RV parks across the country to work together, and that has happened in a number of places, including California, to raise this up, that when you are deemed essential, unfortunately in this country, it shows that you are also deemed expendable. And that is a system that we're fighting today to end. And I just want to say thank you to all the organizations that are represented here. And thank you for the Nonviolent Medicaid Army for partnering up with the National Union of the Homeless as we work together to build our base across all these fronts of struggle and across all lines of division that keep us from fighting together, to say we will not be silent anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danita and Kristen. At this time, please join us in lighting our candles and sing along with us, if you like, to This Little Light of Mine, while we honor our healthcare workers.
So as you light your candle, please let it show in the screen, and we're going to just take some screenshots of our candles, and then we're going to listen to the song. And you can keep yourself on mute and sing along, of course. sending love and solidarity out there to all the healthcare workers around the country, around the world, putting their lives on the line and at the mercy of a vicious system that puts profit over people's lives. Healthcare workers, community members, patients, and all workers. We want to say thank you so, so much.
There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Yes, there's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. May we know that together. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. There's a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All in my room, I'm gonna let it shine. All in my room, I'm gonna let it shine. All in my room, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light, this a little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This a little light, this a light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, shine, shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it.
What a powerful and inspirational song by Odetta. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Fratzola. I'm a member of the Northeast Pennsylvania Healthcare Rights Committee of Put People First Pennsylvania, and I'll be introducing our speakers tonight. Our first speaker is also from the Northeast PA Healthcare Rights Committee for Put People First. She is on the ground live in Scranton outside of Geisinger Community Medical Center. Her name is Jessica Boyles.
Hello, I'm on. Hi, I am happy to be with you all here tonight. I am not a commodity. My health is not something that can be bought, sold, and traded for profit. Neither is yours, nor any of the patients in this hospital here, or at Temple University Hospital, or anywhere. Not during normal times, and certainly not during a pandemic. Yet our healthcare system is built on that concept, and it has real life consequences. I want to share what some of those consequences have looked like in my personal life, and from my perspective as a healthcare worker at the bottom of the food chain, the lowly healthcare aide. Right now, even in the midst of this ongoing global health crisis, and even as an essential healthcare worker myself, I do not have health insurance. My current employer requires a year with the agency before being covered, and I only joined the agency in April. The full-time job I held before this as a healthcare aide in a private care home didn't offer health insurance at all, no matter how long you worked there. I now work full-time as a home healthcare aide, and I'm still fighting to get what I need to do my job safely. I have to drive over an hour round trip to pick up PPE from my office, and I'm given 1 week's supply at a time. I'm also instructed to use my masks for multiple days, though they're supposed to be changed with every client. I often end up buying my own PPE because it's just more convenient. After I was exposed to a COVID positive client, I was not offered testing by my employer. I was told the director of nursing would call to speak with me, but no one called. 5 days later, I received a text message that I could come to the office for a free test. I had already secured my own. Many of my clients are very worried about COVID. One, I'll call Sheila. She lives alone and has no children to help care for her. She's routinely overwhelmed by grief at the escalating loss of life and fear over her own health and safety. I'm the only person she allows into her home, and I am a lifeline to her. The day before Thanksgiving, my workplace called to let me know that a regular client of mine had been admitted to the hospital and tested positive for COVID. I was with Sheila at the time and had to tell her that I needed to leave and that I wouldn't be back for 2 weeks. It took 30 minutes talking with her to calmly work with her through her anxiety about having a new worker come in and how she would get her turkey cooked that I had planned to cook for her and bring the next day along with my parents for a special Thanksgiving visit. Instead, she'd be alone with a raw turkey because my parents and I were all quarantined. When I returned to work again this past Wednesday, I built a snowman for her just outside the window where she sits most of the day. When I came in, she was tearful but radiant. This beautiful, smart, disabled woman struggling with mental illness is worth more than $11 an hour. Her health, her safety, her happiness, and her dignity are worth more than $11 an hour. And my devoted care for her and all of my clients is worth more than $11 an hour so that I can sustain a life, more than just scraping by. Another client of mine was a man with Parkinson's who was only in his mid-60s. He lived with his wife, who was a devoted and compassionate caretaker. Since the outset of the pandemic, he had only seen his children and grandchildren outside and from a distance. His health was too compromised, and every day with him too valuable to risk a COVID infection. The only physical contact he received for months came from his wife or from me. In late summer, he began to decline rapidly from Parkinson's, and my last day with him was spent talking soothingly to him and singing to him and rubbing his muscles to ease his anxiety as he labored to breathe and swallow because his muscles no longer took commands. Over and over for hours, I talked and sang him through episodes of panic while his wife took a breath and a break and ran errands and took care of life. We did not know this would be his final decline, so family stayed away until it finally became clear he would not last, and this would be their last time to spend with him in this life. He did not die of COVID, but COVID shaped what his final months and days were like. All that I've shared, these are the everyday tragedies that happen in our profit-driven healthcare system, from understaffing, which leaves nursing and personal care home residents in wet and soiled briefs for hours or crying out for help in vain, to ICU nurses in this very building being forced to care for 3 COVID patients at a time, an unthinkable substandard level of care. Our healthcare workers are burnt out, exhausted, and traumatized, and our compassion and our commitment is being taken advantage of and monetized at every turn. Geisinger is still turning a profit. Home health care agencies are still turning a profit, and private care homes are still turning profits, yet they continue to deny adequate access to PPE. They continue to deny adequate staffing by refusing to pay a living wage and to offer benefits. Our system is broken, and as a result, people are being broken by the system. It is always the most vulnerable first. It will take each of us working together across the entire working class, people of every race, every gender, sexuality, religion, and culture, to change this system that devastates our people. For the sake of our healthcare workers, for the sake of those sick with COVID or any disease or disorder, for our own sakes, healthcare is not a commodity. It is not an entitlement. It is a human right. People before profits, our health before their wealth. Thank you.
Amazing testimony. Thank you, Jessica. I'm going to call on Harrison now to hook us up with Kareem Nathan, who is in Philadelphia, and he is a member of the Philadelphia Healthcare Rights Committee.
Hi, can you hear me with this? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'll try and speak louder. Can you hear me now? Okay, my name is Kareem. I'm a member of Put People First PA. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm a physician in a large hospital system in Philadelphia. We're here today to honor healthcare workers, to hold a candlelight vigil in solidarity with healthcare workers. And we're here today with broken hearts. And our hearts are broken not only for the pain and trauma and death that healthcare workers have experienced in this pandemic, but our hearts are broken because we know it didn't have to be this bad. The pain and the trauma we suffered did not have to happen on this scale. So we have to ask why. Why did so many struggle with inadequate PPE, a lack of testing, a lack of support, a lack of caring? Why do so many continue to risk their lives as this pandemic reaches its most terrible peak? The toll this has taken on healthcare workers is not simply the result of a virus. It is not simply a hard fact of nature. Yes, the virus is not man-made, but the pain this virus has wrought surely is. The virus is a portal. It is the result of a system that puts profits over people. It's the result of a system that has devalued human life before COVID and will continue to devalue human life after COVID. This fact has never been as obvious as during this pandemic. When St. Mary's Hospital makes record profits, why do its nurses continue to struggle with unsafe staffing ratios, even while its beds filled with COVID-19 patients? Why is Temple Hospital and other hospitals around Philadelphia struggling with a lack of beds, while Hahnemann, a 600-bed hospital that has served this city for 150 years, shut down and remains shuttered until the day it can be converted to luxury condos? Why was there a pandemic on this scale in the first place when other countries were able to get it under control with contact tracing, testing, shutting down non-essential parts of the economy, and supporting the most valuable, most vulnerable people in their society? Like Jacob Hope said, Vietnam had no COVID deaths in September and had 6 new COVID cases yesterday, just 6. This crisis is man-made, and so is the pain and harrowing conditions we've had to face in dealing with it. And we know exactly how it happened. The insistence on business as usual has devastated lives across this country. We have seen the contempt of the ruling class for the lives of essential workers, be they meat packers, bus drivers, nurses, or doctors. Instead of action and material support, we got empty words of praise. We got flyovers of F-16s. We got slogans. We got told by hospital CEOs that we should take care of ourselves with yoga and meditation while we struggle with insufficient resources every day. But the time for empty praise is over. We will not accept being called heroes while you deprive us of the very things we need to take care of our patients and of ourselves. We will not accept being called heroes while we are deprived of PPE, of adequate testing, of safe staffing, and of hazard pay. Even now, when things have never been as bad, we are told by a president-elect to wait for a vaccine, to wear masks, and to reopen schools. Once again, they offer us nothing tangible, nothing to help the millions facing hunger, joblessness, and eviction. They know the vaccine will take many months to get this pandemic under control. And yet we are told to just wait, to be patient in the meantime, to bide our time and to continue to risk our lives and to watch thousands and thousands more die in the meantime. This vigil is to stand in solidarity, to stand with a broken heart, and to say enough is enough. The pandemic has shown the contempt of the ruling class for the working class of this country. It has shown that their profits come before all else, including our lives. It has shown that the fate of healthcare workers is the fate of the working class. We are all connected. We are all in this together. When a person gets evicted in January, when the moratorium ends, that person will soon become our patient. So we care about homeless people. When a meat packer or Amazon worker is forced to work and gets sick on the job, that person becomes our patient. So we care about meat packers and delivery workers and postal workers. We care about teachers. So this pandemic has shown that we must come together, not just as healthcare workers, but as members of the working class, to demand a world where life, human life, is valued, where our lives are valued. We must end profiteering in medicine once and for all. Our lives and the lives of our patients hang in the balance.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Brianne Moy of the Pittsburgh Healthcare Rights Committee of Put People First. Brianne?
Hello. So I'm phoning in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is home to not one, but 2 of the greatest healthcare profiteers in our region, UPMC and Highmark Health, both of which have generated billions of dollars of revenue this year. UPMC even aided by a $1.1 billion bailout from the federal government, while doing nothing to support their workers in this time. Tonight, I have the opportunity to uplift the story of a home health nurse who I have so much love and respect for. But before I dive in, I just want everyone watching to understand the challenge that it was in finding someone willing to share their experiences working through this pandemic. From physicians to med school students to nurses and other hospital staff, so many workers that I spoke with were afraid to speak directly at this event out of fear of retaliation from their employers. This woman here is our whistleblower, but for her safety, she'll remain anonymous. And so this home health nurse has worked for a local healthcare profiteer for a year and a half, traveling through both Washington and Allegheny counties to provide in-home care to patients from ages 18 to 100, treating various ailments. And she brings so much joy and passion to her work, sharing, quote, "I love being a nurse. I love people. I love hearing their stories. I love being able to hear what happened to them. I love making them better. I love their transition if they are passing away," end quote. And what she appreciates most about being a home health nurse in her community was the fact that, quote, "Every day I don't know what I'm walking into. I probably see 30 different patients a week. Daily, that's 6 different people, 6 different personalities, 6 different families and situations," end quote. But the strain of being a home health nurse during this pandemic has been undeniable. First and foremost, she raised, like Jessica earlier, the lack of protection for all of the field staff. Since March, they haven't provided enough PPE to their staff. And each week, she's given 5 disposable masks, 1 face shield, 1 gown, and 1 pair of booties. Definitely not enough for a caseload of 30 patients a week. And since her employer wasn't providing enough disposable equipment, the remaining options for the field staff are to either learn how to clean what is intended to be disposable equipment or purchase their own PPE. In addition to providing insufficient supplies, her employer is also encouraging all field staff to share with one another. Share what they don't have with one another. As a nurse, she and her coworkers are forced to carry all the liability for the circumstances that are out of their control. And as she shared, her employer needs to, quote, "give me what I need to properly do my job so that everyone is safe, so I don't lose my license. We're going to do something that we shouldn't do, or because of something that we don't have. The ball is going to get dropped and it's going to come back on us, not them, us," end quote. And the response from her employer has been pitiful, to say the least. Like we've already heard, the consistent response has been gratitude. She hears "thank you" from management almost constantly. But as she told me, quote, "your thank you is doing nothing to help my emotional, mental, or physical state," end quote. A state which includes heightened levels of anxiety, accompanied by racing thoughts, sleepless nights, and a depleted appetite. And at a time when folks in administrative and executive positions continue to receive raises and promotions, field staff are crying, burned out, and quitting, with 2 nurses having submitted their resignations in the past week. One of the most enlightening parts of our conversation was how she highlighted the contradictions of working for a major healthcare and health insurance company while having horrible health insurance, paying $200 out of pocket each month. But imagine the anxiety of working as a home health nurse during a global pandemic, knowing that you'd have to pay $300 just to visit the emergency room. And paying $200 a month, she doesn't even pay for the highest tier of insurance because she doesn't go to the doctor. And she doesn't go to the doctor because she cannot afford the co-pays to go to the doctor. And she expressed gratitude knowing that her 9-year-old son is on Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP, which is a program with Medicaid, allowing him to have had all the critical surgeries he needed as an infant without any additional cost for her. But it should be that simple for everyone. And so Put People First continues to fight for our human right to healthcare. And we should all be able to get the care we need when we need it without going broke. And this home health nurse, in addition to all workers, should be able to get the care that they need when she needs it without going broke. And right now, insurance, drug, and healthcare companies are making billions off of us getting sick, making billions in the middle of a global pandemic. While we, along with the National Union of the Homeless and the powerful people's organizations that make up the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, are going to continue to do the work of organizing to unite our entire class to make sure we become the most powerful force we need to be to win healthcare as a human right.
Thank you, Brianne. Our next speaker is with the National Union of the Homeless, the Sacramento Homeless Union, Crystal Sanchez.
Thank you. So I come to you guys from California. a state that currently has 1.53 million positive cases of COVID, and we're climbing drastically. We have an approximately 21,000 deaths here in California and almost 200,000 unhoused neighbors. We come together as our missions unite. One thing that we can all agree on is that we cannot afford to lose any more lives to the street or this deadly virus. For the poor and the homeless and the disenfranchised, we do not have the same opportunity to seek the medical care that we all need and deserve. Nobody should be denied medical treatment and freedom based off of this capitalistic system. But we know and we see, and what we see is the unhoused do not get the same medical treatment. And in fact, their life expectancy is 30 years less than the average life expectancy of a normal person. We do not get the same treatment or access. So what we do in these times, we utilize what we have: experience, collaboration, and action. We utilize compassionate folks who will not only fight for equal justice, but will provide compassionate services. Sorry guys, my thing just jumped. Despite there being a financial gain. What we have created here in Sacramento with the Sacramento Homeless Union and our coalition group called Sac Soup is truly unique. We have created self-sustaining camps and created medical encampment teams. We have approximately 100 medical folks out in our camps. Here in Sacramento specifically, we have 11,000 people on the streets. What we do, we triage for COVID first and foremost. We do wound care. We do checkups on major health conditions. We fight for equal testing and any supplies. We fight for those struggling with chronic conditions, COVID, and the elements. We fight against being completely exempt from all orders. Here in California, our COVID, all of our COVID orders, it says with the exemption of homelessness. That means the homeless are not enforced to shelter in place because we don't have a shelter to shelter in place with. And they're also exempt from washing their hands, and they're not provided the necessities that they need to do that. We are all volunteer-based. It has gotten so bad here in Sacramento that we are protecting all of our folks the best that we can. All of our ICUs in California are down at 15% or below capacities. We are running out of space in the hospitals for folks. And to make sure people have the necessities to stay alive, we are the frontline workers at this point. We're all volunteer-based, and we are authorized for exemption by the state for closures to make sure that people on the street are taken care of. Homelessness is a medical public health crisis. Housing is a crisis. Homelessness in itself is a crisis. We must remember those who have lost their lives fighting on the front lines for us. We must stand together. We must all say enough is enough. No more death on the streets. And it's we the people, and that means all the people, no exemptions. Thank you.
Jackie, I think you're going to set us up with the moment of silence.
Yes. I'd like to thank our speakers for their words and for taking time to join us this evening. Now, please join us in a moment of silence to honor those fighting for their life tonight, those who have lost their lives, and those who we will lose in the moments to come. At this time, we welcome you to remember the names of loved ones who have passed, while Sierra Taylor from the University of the Poor and the popular education project leads us in singing, Somebody's Hurting My Brother.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you everyone who spoke. I've been like tilting my head up so the tears would just like go back instead of going down my face. I really appreciate this space so much. And so I wanted to share this song with you. I feel like many of you all may know it. We sing it in the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for a moral revival. It's called Somebody's Hurting My Brother. And it's pretty repetitive. I'm going to share the lyrics just so that, you know, if you feel moved to get in, please get in where you fit in, and join me, please. So the lyrics are, somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. So I'm gonna sing that a couple of times, and then we're gonna switch it up because we understand that healthcare is a human right. And that right is intersected with so many rights that we have, such as the right to housing, the right to clean water. And so we're going to bring in somebody's taking our healthcare, somebody's taking our housing, and somebody's poisoning the water. You don't have to remember everything. Like I said, just get in where you fit in, and please share the loved ones that you're bringing in. I know that I'm bringing in my grandparents, my grandmother who doesn't, she won't be able to apply for the COVID virus, and my grandfather who's too afraid to go to the hospital, too afraid to leave the house, to even check if he has COVID. And so those are definitely two people that I'm bringing into this space. And I thank you all so much for the work that you're doing. All right, get into it. Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my sister, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. How about somebody's hurting my brother? Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting my siblings. Somebody's hurting my siblings, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my siblings, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's taking our health care. Somebody's taking our health care, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. Somebody's taking our health care, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. So I hear that homelessness is going to increase by 45% with this pandemic, and we can't have that. So somebody's taking our housing, and it's gone on far too long. Somebody's taking our housing, and it's gone on far far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. Somebody's taking our health thing, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. So we're gonna finish off strong with somebody's poisoning our water, because we know that if we want to stay healthy, we need access to clean water, right? We need to wash our hands, keep our bodies healthy. We need access to clean water. And yet in this country, the wealthiest country in the world, our access to clean, free water is being taken from us. That ain't right. So somebody's poisoning our water. Somebody's poisoning our water, and it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. I tell you it's gone on far too long. Somebody's poisoning our water, and it's gone on far too long, and we won't be silent anymore. Thank you all so much for having me and for all the incredible work that you all are doing.
Beautiful, Sierra. Thank you so much. We have another speaker actually who's joining us now. Her name is Jen Huber. She's with PASNAP, a nursing union, and she's in Scranton, also outside of Geisinger Community Medical Center. Alex,
yeah, hi.
We're ready to hear
Alex
from
Socorro.
Jen.
I'm going to introduce Jen. This is Jen Huber, president of the union local for the nurses at Geisinger Community Medical Center.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Jen. I'm president of NVMA. And I just wanted to let you know some things that were going on around here. The doctors and nurses and ancillary staff are working really hard. We're risking exposure every day to beat the virus and saving lives. Our shifts are getting really long and we're tired, but we always seem to pull together and we do our best to take care of our patients. Staffing at our hospital has been stretched very thin for a long time, and COVID makes it even more difficult to take care of our patients and give them the care that they deserve. We now have currently 49 employees quarantined due to COVID exposure this past week. One of them isn't doing well. We're not sure of the outcome of him. This causes a great strain on staff members that are working to care for our patients. The vaccine is coming, but we need to let people know that our hospital is very overwhelmed. We'll be overwhelmed very soon. And we have been working very hard to take care of our sick patients. We're just really tired and we're starting to show signs of COVID burnout and we're getting very overwhelmed. Most of us have children and other family members to take care of during this. Now everyone's at home, so it makes it even harder on us with the strains of our home care, with our kids and homeschooling and coming to work and caring for other people's loved ones to make sure they get care. It's becoming a great strain on personal lives. So please stay safe and wear your masks, and God bless.
Okay, and we're going to...
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, that was a little chaotic there. Alex, I thought...
Okay, we're going to open it up now to anybody on the Zoom call who would like to make any comments or remarks. We'll give 2 or 3 minutes. If you would just use the raise hand feature and we'll call on you.
This is Nijmi. I just want to say, you know, I know that many folks here are also directly connected to healthcare workers, are directly impacted by this crisis. And we just really appreciate everyone for being here and for being part of this really powerful space. And I just want to encourage folks to lend your voice into the space, just like we all lit our candles together and we made, you know, a bigger light. When we raise up our voices and we unite our voices, it also builds our power, builds our confidence, builds our connectedness. So I just want to encourage people to share something and to lend your voice into the space.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Dee Dukes. I'm a member of the Monco Put People First of PA, and I am really happy to be part of this vigil tonight and to have heard all the stories that folks were able to share. Many of those stories, I have very similar experiences. So I'm just really happy that this is a place that we can share our voices and have our voices be heard so that folks will hear our voices. And I do believe that change comes when we all unite together. So thank you all who put this event together. Thank you for everything that you do for those who shared their stories. And we stand in solidarity to all of you tonight. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
I would like to add super quick that, again, we want to thank, like, you know, our doctors and our nurses. And this isn't just about COVID. This is long hours. This is sores on your faces from your masks. This is putting your life on the line up front and foremost. And there isn't enough gratitude that I think that any of us could truly give to these folks that are risking their lives every day. And we appreciate you. And I would say prayers are lifted up for those on these front lines working these long hours. We appreciate all of you.
Beckett has their hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to echo what everyone said. I'm in school to be like to work in mental health and keep learning about things that like make it impossible to do the job of like helping people, like insurance only covering a few sessions and stuff. And it's tied into what other people are saying. I part of me just feels like encouraged that there's so many people, so many of us want to do good things. We want to help each other. We put so much work into it, and the system just makes it impossible for us to do our job. So on one hand, it makes me really angry, but on the other hand, it makes me hopeful because we have all this energy and we keep pushing. And if we change the system, we could do so much good. So that's some of what I'm feeling.
Hello, I'm Paul Ricci. I'm from the Johnstown Healthcare Rights Committee. You know, I've been tracking the numbers here in the county. We're now one of the hardest hit counties in terms of new cases in the country when you adjust for population. And you know, we've also seen a very big surge in deaths in recent months. I guess sorry to inject politics into this, but since Donald Trump came here, and you know, we've had 134 deaths in the county since that rally. We had 7 deaths before, and you know, this is just why it's imperative, you know, alleviate the stress on our healthcare system and on our economy, and to, just to make, just try to make the best, give people access to the best care available. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Did anybody else want to speak? I don't see any more raised hands in the chat. Just don't want to skip anybody. Okay, if that's it, I think we're going to move on to the call to action.
Okay, I'll go, Jacqueline. So as we've heard the stories here tonight, and I just want to encourage everyone to continue to share your truth, because only you can tell your story. In the Poor People's Campaign, we continue to change the narrative by changing the narrator. We are the narrator of our stories. No one can tell our stories and our truth but us. Contrary to what they want us to believe, we, the poor and dispossessed, have more in common that unites us than we do that divides us. And if we believe in that, just in that one statement alone, we can conquer and do so much. But we have to do it in solidarity. So no matter where you are, whether you're part of an organization or not part of an organization, I implore you all to become part of a movement. Become part of a grassroots organizing movement that represents you, the people. Because it's time for us to have representation for us.
Thank you, Danita. It's always an honor to come and follow your words. Again, my name is Kristen Colangelo. I'm with the National Union of the Homeless, the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, and Put People First Pennsylvania, leading the fight for healthcare as a human right and framing it as such. Jessica said at the beginning of her talk, I am not a commodity. Whew, that really got me. I am not a commodity. There are profiteers in this country that make billions of dollars off of our suffering in the time when we will lose almost 500,000 souls in this country by the end of February. Those that are profiteers off of our suffering will make close to $1 trillion in increased wealth. And I say, we cannot be silent anymore. And how do we not be silent? We come together across all fronts of struggle, whatever brings you to this movement, whether it's housing or a lack of health or a lack of food or a living wage job where you can feed yourself and pay for your house. Whatever brings you in, join all together to build the power of the working class. And we're not talking about electoral power. We're not talking about mobilizing for votes, and we're not talking about mobilizing for concessions, though we absolutely use those mobilizations to then organize. And we're doing that to build political power. And I just want to say for a second what the difference is in that. And we have an article that Nijmi and others from Put People First beautifully wrote about this exact point, that we are looking for political power. And when you have political power, you have the power over your life, the power to live and be housed and be free from hunger and devastation, and that you can change the actual systems that are affecting you every day. And that's the kind of power we're talking about. The National Union of the Homeless partnered with the Nonviolent Medicaid Army and all the fighting organizations within the Nonviolent Medicaid Army across the country are coming together this year under a winter offensive. And our winter offensive is based in the National Union of the Homeless history, but I would say we are making it, we're learning from our history, building on our history, and we're making that knife sharper. We're building our, sorry, I got automatically muted when somebody came in. We're building this power through these events. These events are mass mobilizations. So we use them to bring people in, to have conversations about the topics of each event and start to build leaders, identify leaders and build that power. We had an event last Thursday in partnership with the National Welfare Rights Union around the anniversary of the Declaration of Human Rights to raise up that our basic needs are human rights, not something to be profit off of and not something to be turned into a damn commodity, which it is in this country, that these are our basic human rights. We had many speakers, including from PPF, NIJME, and other speakers to talk about how our rights are being violated. We're moving into one of our most powerful, I would say our signature event, which is our homeless memorial. Our homeless memorial historically was a day we took back from the nonprofits who held up what they did to manage poverty. And we say, no, we are going to hold up those that have passed on the street, and we're going to give them dignity never allowed in death, never allowed in life. And we're going to honor them, and we're going to honor them by fighting. We're going to honor them by holding up their legacy, and we're going to honor them by coming together to learn about this system, to learn about what's going on. We need a correct analysis to have any correct strategy to build. So we come together through these events to study and talk and learn, and then take that information. What does a leader do, right? If I have a problem and you can solve it, you're my leader. So we come together to build our leadership. Leaders study. They don't stay up in the limbs and leaves. They get down to that cancerous root, rip it up and say, what is the problem? And then you give me a solution. And that's what we're working to do through these events. So through the memorial, we honor and we fight. And that is on the 21st of December from 7 to 9. And it will also be a virtual event. Information will be on Put People First Facebook page, National Union of the Homeless Facebook page, and other places will get information to you. During the Christmas season, we also have a warping of the narrative. So we're changing the narrator again. And that is, if you're going to put on your car a bumper sticker that says, put Christ back into Christmas, we want to talk about what that means. And that means honoring, right? A family born, Jesus was born into homelessness, a refugee running from an oppressive state. We need to hold that up. Jesus's ministry was about being a homeless revolutionary, fighting. Everything he did through education. He fed and taught. He housed and taught. He healed and taught. And he built a revolution and sent his disciples out to teach others. And we're going to talk about that on December 27th with the Freedom Church of the Poor and the Nonviolent Medicaid Army. It will again be virtual, and we will have information on that posted everywhere. And the last event that we're going to do is our Martin Luther King. And we are doing this in direct partnership with the organizations in the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, Martin Luther King's birthday, to also hold up his last 3 years of his life and the Poor People's Campaign and the revolutionary narrative he started putting out that ultimately got him killed. And to highlight that, and we also are hoping, with working with the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, to have a week worth of events. And we'll get more information out to folks as well. Crystal and I are starting to talk about how to also do on New Year's Eve a social media blast of holding up signs and having pictures across social media. I resolved to end poverty this year. I resolved to join the fight. I resolved to not fight poverty, to not fight the poor, but to fight poverty. And we're going to come together to do this. And I'm a national organizer with the National Union of the Homeless, and I cannot express how thankful I am for the work we're doing with the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, the organizing that is coming together under the winter offensive, and that we will continue to fight, 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 and not be silent anymore. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. It's an honor to be with all of you, and though it is a heartbreaking topic. And I want to turn it back over to Nijmi and just say we will get more information out to everybody on these events. And if you want to be part of them, you can get in touch with us as well. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you so much, Kristen, and thank you, Danita. I'm just going to try to be very brief. We do want to end on time. I just want folks to, keep in your mind, just like we lit our candles tonight, keep your candle lit, keep your mind focused on a person, that brings you into this space, the reason that you're here, someone that is dear to you, someone that you care about, that brings you here, and that keeps you motivated to keep on keeping on. Our mentor, Willie, says, we only get what we're organized to take. That's a slogan that comes out of the National Union of the Homeless. And I just want to remind us that just here tonight in this event, we had, we went on the ground live to two completely different parts of the state of Pennsylvania. We have folks from California, from Texas, and many other folks from New York, and many other folks around the country streaming in, and the coming together and the building of the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, which is folks who are on and excluded from Medicaid, and all those who are building the social force of the 140 million to use healthcare as a rallying point for our class, and to say that those who are on or excluded from Medicaid are at the center of all of the attacks on the working class. So this can become a rallying point for us, a way to build our base, and a way to bring unity, make the invisible visible. Teaming up with, and when we did the week of action recently, the Medicaid marches, we had actions in Wisconsin, we had actions in North Carolina, we had actions across the country. Folks in California were participating, in Maine, in New York, in Vermont, in Pennsylvania, in Kansas. The National Union of the Homeless developing chapters around the entire country. The Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, active in 45 states. So this movement to unite the poor and dispossessed, the 140 million people in this country with little or nothing to lose, is gaining steam. 50 years after the original Poor People's Campaign, we are smarter, we are stronger, we are bigger, and we are not giving up. And we welcome you to join us, to get involved, to join the National Union of the Homeless, to join the organizations of the Nonviolent Medicaid Army, to join the Poor People's Campaign, to join Put People First PA at putpeoplefirstpa.org. We appreciate you. We're sending love out there to everyone who is suffering in this crisis, everyone who is unsure of what the future holds. We don't know, but what we can do is we can come together and we can try to shape what is to come. The only chance we have is if we come together in unity, as our speakers have said, across all lines of division, as the poor and dispossessed. That is what we're talking about. That is what we're doing across every county, across as many states as we possibly can. And we really invite you to join us, and we thank you for being with us. And we thank all of our healthcare workers, all of the workers, and the whole working class for everything that you do every single day.
Thank you, Nijmi. Thank you, all of our speakers. Thank you, everyone, for help pulling this off. The healthcare industry in the US has allowed profiteering to prioritize its every move for decades. The result of corporate healthcare leadership is very clear. The system is not able to meet the needs of the people or meet the needs of workers who produce their huge profits. It is time for the people to organize and use their strength in numbers to abolish this capital-driven healthcare system and put people first. Almost 300,000 people are dead in the United States. Countless people continue to suffer, and more will lose their lives. Many healthcare workers will be diagnosed with PTSD, along with other mental and physical health conditions as a result of the daily trauma they're facing in the workplace. This stress, this trauma is widespread throughout families, communities, and this country, and can also pass from generation to generation. If not addressed swiftly and appropriately, trauma can often have devastating and lasting effects. This trauma affects us on a cellular level. Our healthcare workers are so overworked and overwhelmed that they don't even have the time to process what's happening around them. Before this pandemic ever started, hospitals couldn't keep nurses at the bedside, even with big bonuses and hourly incentives. Hospitals still can't keep nurses at the bedside. Do you know why? Because we are overworked, overstressed, bogged down by ever-increasing documentation for some bureaucratic bullshit, expected to overlook our own health and sacrifice ourselves when we also have terrible mental health services too. Administration poisons the working environment by capital default in the hospital. Administration's job is to triangulate staff and target those who speak up every day. The system exploits the empathy of healthcare workers, convincing employees that it is an honor to be a martyr for $1 billion industry. The structure and function of capitalism does not consider human need as the priority. Its main concern is and always will be profit. We must join together with a clear goal in mind that we must prioritize the health of the people before profit. As we lift up our healthcare workforce with love and light, let it be known that the $1 billion healthcare industry is willing to sacrifice any one of these doctors, nurses, patients, poor, or working class person it needs to maximize that profit. When we leave this space today, let us continue to be the light we so desperately need in our time of darkness. I quote, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others." Marianne Williamson. Thank you for joining us tonight, everybody. Danita, would you like to lead us into chant?
Yes, so if everyone would come off mute that are on the Zoom, and if you're at home, stand up, stretch your legs, because I know you've been sitting there with your laptop on your leg and your phone has probably got a cramp in it. So just stand up, and one of my favorite quotes is from Mother Jones. And so I'm going to lead us, and so we're going to go with pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. Okay. So let's just come off mute and get it in. All right, Miss D. Everyone ready? We're gonna pray for the dead.
The dead.
Pray for the
and
dead.
fight like hell for the living.
Hell living.
All right, one more time. Pray for
Pray
the
for the
dead.
Pray for the dead.
Fight like hell for the
Fight
living.
like hell for the living.
Fight for the living. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Mwah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye from Scranton. Bye from Philly.
Bye from
Bye,
Philly.
everybody.
Bye from Philly.
Love you all.
Bye from Monco.
Much love to
Bye.
all of
Bye,
you.
bye, everybody.
Good night.
Buenas noches.
Buonasera.
Ciao.